Chapter 74 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Love and Diplomacy. The next morning, about 10 o'clock, a carriage bearing the arms of Monsieur de Breteuil entered Versailles. Our readers will not have forgotten that this gentleman was a personal enemy of Monsieur de Rohan, and had long been on the watch for an opportunity of injuring him. He now requested an audience from the king, and was admitted. "It is a beautiful day," said Louis to his minister. "There is not a cloud in the sky."
"Sire, I am sorry to bring with me a cloud on your tranquillity."
"So am I," replied the king. "But what is it?"
"I feel very much embarrassed, sire, more especially as, perhaps, this affair naturally concerns the lieutenant of police rather than myself, for it is a sort of theft."
"A theft? Well, speak out."
"Sire, your majesty knows the diamond necklace?"
"Monsieur Burmer's, which the queen refused?"
"Precisely, sire,"
said Monsieur de Breteuil, and ignorant of all the mischief he was about to do, he continued,
"And the necklace has been stolen."
"Huh! So much the worse. But diamonds are very easy to trace."
"But, sire, this is not an ordinary theft. It is pretended that the queen has kept the necklace."
"Why, she refused it in my presence."
"Sire, I did not use the right word. The calumnies are too gross."
"Huh!" said the king with a smile. "I suppose they say now that the queen has stolen the necklace?"
"Sire," replied Monsieur de Breteuil, "they say that the queen recommenced the negotiations for the purchase privately, and that the jewelers hold a paper signed by her acknowledging that she kept it. I need not tell your majesty how much I despise all such scandalous falsehoods."
"They say this?" said the king, turning pale. "What do they not say? Had the queen really bought it afterwards, I should not have blamed her. She is a woman, and the necklace is marvelously beautiful. And thank God, she could still afford it, if she wished for it. I shall only blame her for one thing, for hiding her wishes from me. But that has nothing to do with the king, only with the husband. A husband may scold his wife if he pleases, and no one has the right to interfere. But then," continued he, "what do you mean by a robbery?"
"Oh, I fear I have made your majesty angry."
The king laughed. "Come, tell me all. Tell me even that the queen sold the necklace to the Jews. Poor woman, she is often in want of money, oftener than I can give it to her."
"Exactly so. About 2 months ago the queen asked for 500,000 francs, and your majesty refused it."
"True."
"Well, sire, they say that this money was to have been the first payment for the necklace. The queen, being denied the money, could not pay."
"Well?"
"Well, sire, they say the queen applied to someone to help her."
"To a Jew?"
"No, sire, not to a Jew."
"Oh, I guess some foreign intrigue. The queen asked her mother or some of her family for money."
"It would have been better if she had, sire."
"Well, to whom then did she apply?"
"Sire, I dare not."
"Monsieur, I am tired of this. I order you to speak out at once. Who lent this money to the queen?"
"Monsieur de Rohan."
"Monsieur de Rohan? Are you not ashamed to name to me the most embarrassed man in my kingdom?"
"Sire," said Monsieur de Breteuil, lowering his eyes.
"Monsieur de Breteuil, your manner annoys me. If you have anything to say, speak at once."
"Sire, I cannot bring myself to utter things so compromising to the honor of my king and queen."
"Speak, sir. If there are calumnies, they must be refuted."
"Then, sire, Monsieur de Rohan went to the jeweller's and arranged for the purchase of the necklace and the mode of payment."
"Really?" cried the king, annoyed and angry.
"It is a fact, sire, capable of being proved with the greatest certainty. I pledge my word for this."
"This is most annoying," said the king. "But still, sir, we have not heard of a theft."
"Sire, the jewelers say that they have a receipt signed by the queen, and she denies having the necklace."
"Ha!" cried the king with renewed hope. "She denies it. You see, Monsieur de Breteuil."
"Oh, sire, I never doubted Her Majesty's innocence. I am indeed unfortunate if Your Majesty does not see all my respect for the purest of women."
"Then you only accuse Monsieur de Rohan?"
"Yes, sire, and appearances demand some inquiry into his conduct. The queen says she has not the necklace. The jewelers say they sold it to her. It is not to be found, and the word theft is used as connected both with the queen and Monsieur de Rohan."
"You are right, Monsieur de Breteuil. This affair must be cleared up. But who is that passing below? Is it not Monsieur de Rohan going to the chapel?"
"Not yet, sire. He does not come till 11 o'clock, and he will be dressed in his robes, for he officiates today."
"Then I will send for him and speak to him."
"Permit me to advise Your Majesty to speak first to the queen."
"Yes. She will tell me the truth."
"Doubtless, sire."
"But first, tell me all you know about it." Monsieur de Breteuil, with ingenious hate, mentioned every particular which he thought could injure Monsieur de Rohan. They were interrupted by an officer who approached the king and said, "Sire, the queen begs you will come to her." "What is it?" asked the king, turning pale. "Wait here, Monsieur de Breteuil." End of chapter 74. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 75 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Charny, Cardinal, and Queen. At the same moment as Monsieur de Breteuil asked for an audience of the king, Monsieur de Charny, pale and agitated, begged one of the queen. He was admitted, and touching tremblingly the hand she held out to him, said in an agitated voice, "Oh, madame, what a misfortune!" "What is the matter?" "Do you know what I have just heard? What the king has perhaps already heard, or will hear tomorrow?" She trembled, for she thought of her night with Charny, and fancied they had been seen. "Speak," said she. "I am strong." "They say, madame, that you bought a necklace from Monsieur Boehmer." "I returned it," said she quickly. "But they say that you only pretended to do so, when the king prevented you from paying for it by refusing you the money, and that you went to borrow the amount from someone else.
who is your lover."
"And," cried the queen with her usual impetuous confidence, "you, monsieur? You let them say that?"
"Madame, yesterday I went to Monsieur Boehmer's with my uncle, who had brought some diamonds from the Indies and wished to have them valued. There we heard this frightful story now being spread abroad by your Majesty's enemies. Madame, I am in despair. If you bought the necklace, tell me. If you have not paid, tell me, but do not let me hear that Monsieur de Rohan paid for you."
"Monsieur de Rohan?"
"Yes, Monsieur de Rohan, whom they call your lover, whom they say lent the money, and whom an unhappy man called Charny saw in the park in Versailles, kneeling before the queen and kissing her hand."
"Monsieur," cried Marie Antoinette, "if you believe these things when you leave me, you do not love me."
"Oh," cried the young man, "the danger presses. I come to beg you to do me a favor."
"What danger?"
"Oh, madame, the cardinal paying for the queen dishonors her. I do not speak now of the grief such a confidence in him causes to me. No, of these things one dies, but does not complain."
"You are mad!" cried Marie Antoinette in anger.
"I am not mad, madame, but you are unhappy and lost. I saw you in the park. I told you so. I was not deceived. Today all the horrible truth has burst out. Monsieur de Rohan boasts, perhaps—"
The queen seized his arm. "You are mad!" repeated she, with inexpressible anguish. "Believe anything, believe the impossible, but in the name of heaven, after all I have said to you, do not believe me guilty. I, who never even thought of you without praying to God to pardon me for my fault. Oh, Monsieur de Charny, if you do not wish to kill me, do not tell me that you think me guilty." Charny wrung his hands with anguish.
"Listen," said he. "If you wish me to serve you efficaciously—"
"A service from you? From you, more cruel than my enemies? A service from a man who despises me? Never, sir, never!"
Charny approached and took her hands in his. "This evening it will be too late. Save me from despair by saving yourself from shame."
"Monsieur!"
"Oh, I cannot pick my words with death before me. If you do not listen to me, we shall both die. You from shame, and I from grief. You want money to pay for this necklace."
"I?"
"Do not deny it."
"I tell you—"
"Do not tell me that you have not the necklace."
"I swear."
"Do not swear. If you wish me to love you, there remains one way to save at once your honor and my love. The necklace is worth 1,600,000 francs. You have paid 100,000. Here is the remainder. Take it and pay."
"You have sold your possessions? You have ruined yourself for me? Good and noble heart, I love you."
"Then you accept?"
"No, but I love you."
"And let Monsieur de Rohan pay? Remember, madame, this would be no generosity toward me, but the refinement of cruelty."
"Monsieur de Charny, I am a queen. I give to my subjects, but do not accept from them."
"What do you mean to do, then?"
"You are frank. What do the jewelers say?"
"That, as you cannot pay, Monsieur de Rohan will pay for you."
"What does the public say?"
"That you have the necklace hidden, and will produce it when it shall have been paid for, either by the cardinal in his love for you, or by the king to prevent scandal."
"And you, Charny, in your turn? I ask, what do you say?"
"I think, madame, that you have need to prove your innocence to me."
The Prince Louis, Cardinal de Rohan, was at that moment announced by an usher. "You shall have your wish," said the queen.
"You are going to receive him?"
"Yes."
"And I?"
"Go into my boudoir, and leave the door ajar that you may hear. Be quick, here he is." Monsieur de Rohan appeared in his robes of office. The queen advanced toward him, attempting a smile, which died away on her lips. He was serious and said,
"Madame, I have several important things to communicate to you, although you shun my presence."
"I shun you so little, monsieur, that I was about to send for you."
"Am I alone with your majesty?" said he in a low voice. "May I speak freely?"
"Perfectly, monseigneur. Do not constrain yourself," said she aloud for Monsieur de Charny to hear.
"The king will not come?"
"Have no fear of the king or anyone else."
"Oh, it is yourself I fear," said he in a moved voice.
"Well, I am not formidable. Say quickly and openly what you have to say. I like frankness and want no reserve. They say you complain of me. What have you to reproach me with?" The cardinal sighed. End of chapter 75. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 76 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Explanations.
"Madame,"
said the cardinal, bowing,
"you know what is passing concerning the necklace?"
"No, monsieur. I wish to learn it from you."
"Why has your majesty for so long only deigned to communicate with me through another? If you have any reason to hate me, why not explain it?"
"I do not know what you mean. I do not hate you. But that is not, I think, the subject of our interview. I wish to hear all about this unlucky necklace. But first, where is Madame de Lamotte?"
"I was about to ask your majesty the same question."
"Really, monsieur, if anyone knows, I think it ought to be you."
"I, madame? Why?"
"Oh, I do not wish to receive your confessions about her, but I wish to speak to her, and have sent for her 10 times without receiving any answer."
"And I, madame, am astonished at her disappearance, for I also sent to ask her to come, and, like your majesty, received no answer."
"Then let us leave her, monsieur, and speak of ourselves."
"Oh, no, madame. Let us speak of her first, for a few words of your majesty's gave me a painful suspicion. It seemed to me that your majesty reproached me with my assiduities to her."
"I have not reproached you at all, sir."
"Oh, madame, such a suspicion would explain all to me. Then I should understand all your rigor toward me, which I have hitherto found so inexplicable."
"Here we cease to understand each other, and I beg of you not to still further involve in obscurity what I wished you to explain to me."
"Madame,"
cried the cardinal, clasping his hands,
"I entreat you not to change the subject. Allow me only 2 words more, and I am sure we shall understand each other."
"Really, sir, you speak in a language that I do not understand. Pray, return to plain French. Where is the necklace that I returned to the jeweller's?"
"The necklace that you sent back?"
"Yes. What have you done with it?"
I do not know, madame."
"Listen, and one thing is simple. Madame de Lamotte took away the necklace and returned it to the jeweller's in my name. The jewellers say they never had it, and I hold in my hands a receipt which proves the contrary, but they say the receipt is forged. Madame de Lamotte, if sincere, could explain all, but as she is not to be found, I can but conjecture. She wished to return it, but you, who had always the generous wish to present me the necklace, you, who brought it to me with the offer to pay for it—"
"Which your majesty refused."
"Yes. Well, you have persevered in your idea, and you kept back the necklace, hoping to return it to me at some other time. Madame de Lamotte is weak. She knew my inability to pay for it, and my determination not to keep it when I could not pay. She therefore entered into a conspiracy with you. Have I guessed right? Say yes. Let me believe in this slight disobedience to my orders, and I promise you both pardon. So let Madame de Lamotte come out from her hiding-place. But for pity's sake, let there be perfect clearness and openness, monsieur. A cloud rests over me. I will have it dispersed."
"Madame," replied the cardinal with a sigh, "unfortunately, it is not true. I did not persevere in my idea, for I believed the necklace was in your own hands. I never conspired with Madame de Lamotte about it, and I have it no more than you say you or the jewellers have it."
"Impossible! You have not got it?"
"No, madame."
"Is it not you who hide it?"
"No, madame."
"You do not know what has become of it?"
"No, madame."
"But then, how do you explain its disappearance?"
"I do not pretend to explain it, madame, and moreover, it is not the first time that I have had to complain that your majesty did not understand me."
"How, sir?"
"Pray, madame, have the goodness to retrace my letters in your memory."
"Your letters? You have written to me?"
"Too seldom, madame, to express all that was in my heart."
The queen rose. "Terminate this jesting, sir. What do you mean by letters? How can you dare to say such things?"
"Ah, madame, perhaps I have allowed myself to speak too freely the secret of my soul."
"What secret? Are you in your senses, monsieur?"
"Madame."
"Oh, speak out. You speak now like a man who wishes to embarrass one before witnesses."
"Madame, is there really anyone listening to us?"
"No, monsieur. Explain yourself and prove to me, if you can, that you are in your right senses."
"Oh, why, is not Madame de Lamotte here? She could aid me to reawaken, if not your majesty's attachment, at least your memory."
"My attachment? My memory?"
"Ah, madame," cried he, growing excited, "spare me, I beg. It is free to you to love no longer, but do not insult me."
"Ah, mon Dieu!" cried the queen, turning pale. "Hear what this man says."
"Well, madame," said he, getting still more excited, "I think I have been sufficiently discreet and reserved not to be ill-treated, but I should have known that when a queen says, 'I will not any longer,' It is as imperious as when a woman says, I will.
But, sir, to whom, or when, have I said either the one or the other?
Both. To me.
To you? You are a liar, Monsieur de Rohan, a coward, for you calumniate a woman, and a traitor, for you insult the queen.
And you are a heartless woman and a faithless queen. You led me to feel for you the most ardent love. You let me drink my fill of hopes.
Of hopes? My God, am I mad, or what is he?
Should I have dared to ask you for the midnight interviews which you granted me?
The queen uttered a cry of rage, as she fancied she heard a sigh from the boudoir.
Should I,
continued Monsieur de Rohan,
have dared to come into the park if you had not sent Madame de la Motte for me?
Mon Dieu!
Should I have dared to steal the key? Should I have ventured to ask for this rose, which since then I have worn here on my heart and burned up with my kisses? Should I have dared to kiss your hands, and above all, should I have dared even to dream of sweet but perfidious love?
Monsieur, cried she, you blaspheme!
Mon Dieu! Exclaimed the cardinal. Heaven knows that to be loved by this deceitful woman, I would have given my all, my liberty, my life.
Monsieur de Rohan, if you wish to preserve either, you will confess immediately that you invented all these horrors, that you did not come to the park at night.
I did come,
he replied. You are a dead man if you maintain this.
A Rohan cannot lie, madame. I did come.
Monsieur de Rohan, in heaven's name, say that you did not see me there.
I will die if you wish it, and as you threaten me, but I did come to the park at Versailles, where Madame de la Motte brought me.
Once more, confess it is a horrible plot against me.
No.
Then believe that you were mistaken, deceived, that it was all a fancy.
No.
Then we will have recourse, said she solemnly, to the justice of the king. The cardinal bowed. The queen rang violently. Tell his majesty that I desire his presence. The cardinal remained firm. Marie Antoinette went 10 times to the door of the boudoir, and each time returned without going in. At last, the king appeared. End of chapter 76. Recording by John Van Stam, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 77 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Arrest. Sire, cried the Queen, here is Monsieur de Rohan, who says incredible things which I wish him to repeat to you. At these unexpected words, the cardinal turned pale. Indeed, it was a strange position to hear himself called upon to repeat to the king and the husband all the claims which he believed he had over the queen and the wife. But the king, turning towards him, said, About a certain necklace, is it not, sir? Monsieur de Rohan took advantage of the king's question and chose the least of two evils.
Yes, sire,
he murmured,
about the necklace.
Then, sir, you have brought the necklace?
Sire.
Yes or no, sir? The cardinal looked at the queen and did not reply. The truth, sir, said the queen, answering his look. We want nothing but the truth. Monsieur de Rohan turned away his head and did not speak. "If Monsieur de Rohan will not reply, will you, madame, explain?" said the king. "You must know something about it. Did you buy it?" "No." Monsieur de Rohan smiled rather contemptuously. "You say nothing, sir?" said the king.
"Of what am I accused, sire?"
"The jewelers say they sold the necklace either to you or the queen. They show a receipt from Her Majesty—" "A forged one," interrupted the queen. "The jewelers," continued the king, "say that in case the queen does not pay, you are bound to do so by your engagements."
"I do not refuse to pay, sire. It must be the truth, as the queen permits it to be said."
And a second look, still more contemptuous than the first, accompanied this speech. The queen trembled, for she began to think his behavior like the indignation of an honest man. "Well, Monsieur le Cardinal, someone has imitated the signature of the Queen of France," said the king.
"The queen, sire, is free to attribute to me whatever crimes she pleases."
"Sir," said the king, "instead of justifying yourself, you assume the air of an accuser." The cardinal paused a moment and then cried,
"Justify myself? Impossible!"
"Monsieur, these people say that this necklace has been stolen under a promise to pay for it. Do you confess the crime?"
"Who would believe it if I did?"
asked the cardinal, with a haughty disdain. "Then, sir, you think they will believe?"
"Sire, I know nothing of what is said," interrupted the cardinal. "All that I can affirm is that I have not the necklace. Someone has it who will not produce it, and I can but say, let the shame of the crime fall on the person who knows himself guilty."
"The question, madame, is between you two," said the king. "Once more, have you the necklace?" "No, by the honor of my mother, by the life of my son." The king joyfully turned toward the cardinal. "Then, sir, the affair lies between you and justice, unless you prefer trusting to my clemency."
"The clemency of kings is for the guilty, sire. I prefer the justice of men."
"You will confess nothing?"
"I have nothing to say."
"But, sir, your silence compromises my honor," cried the queen. The cardinal did not speak. "Well, then I will speak," cried she. "Learn, sire, that Monsieur de Rohan's chief crime is not the theft of this necklace." Monsieur de Rohan turned pale. "What do you mean?" cried the king.
"Madame,"
murmured the cardinal. "Oh, no reasons, no fear, no weakness shall close my mouth. I would proclaim my innocence in public if necessary." "Your innocence?" said the king. "Oh, madame, who would be rash enough or base enough to compel you to defend that?"
"I beg you, madame," said the cardinal.
"Ah, you begin to tremble. I was right. Such plots bear not the light. Sire, will you order Monsieur de Rohan to repeat to you what he has just said to me?"
"Madame," cried the cardinal, "take care. You pass all bounds."
"Sir," said the king, "do you dare to speak thus to the queen?" "Yes, sire," said Marie Antoinette. "This is the way he speaks to me, and pretends he has the right to do so." "You, sir!" cried the king, livid with rage. "Oh, he says he has letters." "Let us see them, sir," said the king. "Yes, produce them," cried the queen.
The cardinal passed his hands over his burning eyes and asked himself how heaven could ever have created a being so perfidious and so audacious, but he remained silent.
"But that is not all," continued the queen, getting more and more excited. "Monsieur le Cardinal says he has obtained interviews." "Madame, for pity's sake!" cried the king.
"For modesty's sake," murmured the cardinal.
"One word, sir. If you are not the basest of men, if you hold anything sacred in this world, if you have proofs, produce them."
"No, madame," replied he at length. "I have not."
"You said you had a witness." "Who?" asked the king. "Madame de la Motte."
"Ha!" cried the king, whose suspicions against her were easily excited.
"Let us see this woman." "Yes," said the queen, "but she has disappeared. Ask monsieur what he has done with her."
"Others have made her disappear who had more interest in doing so than I had."
"But, sir, if you are innocent, help us to find the guilty."
The cardinal crossed his hands and turned his back.
"Monsieur," cried the king, "you shall go to the Bastille."
"As I am, sire, in my robes? Consider, sire, the scandal will commence, and will fall heavily on whomsoever it rests."
"I wish it to do so, sir."
"It is an injustice, sire."
"It shall be so."
And the king looked round for someone to execute his orders. Monsieur de Breteuil was near, anticipating the fall of his rival. The king spoke to him and cried immediately, "Guards, arrest Monsieur le Cardinal de Rohan." The cardinal passed by the queen without saluting her, then bowing to the king went toward the lieutenant of the guards, who approached timidly, seeming to wait for a confirmation of the order he had received. "Yes, sir," said Monsieur de Rohan, "it is I whom you are to arrest."
"Conduct monsieur to his apartment until I have written the order," said the king. When they were alone, the king said, "Madame, you know this must lead to a public trial, and that scandal will fall heavily on the heads of the guilty. I thank you, sire. You have taken the only method of justifying me." "You thank me?" "With all my heart. Believe me, you have acted like a king, and I as a queen." "Good," replied the king joyfully. "We shall find out the truth at last, and when once we have crushed the serpent, I hope we may live in more tranquillity." He kissed the queen and left her.
"Monsieur," said the cardinal to the officer who conducted him, "can I send word home that I have been arrested?" "If no one sees, monseigneur." The cardinal wrote some words on a page of his missal, then tore it out and let it fall at the feet of the officer. "She ruins me," murmured the cardinal, "but I will save her. For your sake, oh, my king, and because it is my duty to forgive." End of chapter 77. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 78 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Procès Verbal. When the king re-entered his room, he signed the order to consign Monsieur de Rohan to the Bastille. The Count de Provence soon came in and began making a series of signs to Monsieur de Breteuil, who, however willing, could not understand their meaning. This, however, the count did not care for, as his sole object was to attract the king's attention. He at last succeeded, and the king, after dismissing Monsieur de Breteuil, said to him, "What was the meaning of all those signs you were making just now? I suppose they meant something." "Undoubtedly, but—" "Oh,
You are quite free to say or not.
Sire, I have just heard of the arrest of Monsieur de Rohan.
Well, and what then? Am I wrong to do justice even on him?
Oh, no, brother, I did not mean that.
I should have been surprised had you not taken part somehow against the queen. I have just seen her, and am quite satisfied.
Oh, sire, God forbid that I should accuse her. The queen has no friend more devoted than myself.
Then you approve of my proceedings, which will, I trust, terminate all the scandals which have lately disgraced our court?
Yes, sire, I entirely approve your Majesty's conduct, and I think all is for the best as regards the necklace.
Pardieu, it is clear enough. Monsieur de Rohan has been making himself great on a pretended familiarity with the queen, and conducting in her name a bargain for the diamonds, and leaving it to be supposed that she had them. It is monstrous, and then these tales never stop at the truth, but add all sorts of dreadful details which would end in a frightful scandal on the queen.
Yes, brother, I repeat, as far as the necklace is concerned, you were perfectly right.
What else is there, then?
Sire, you embarrass me. The queen has not, then, told you?
Oh, the other boastings of Monsieur de Rohan, the pretended correspondence and interviews he speaks of. All that I know is that I have the most absolute confidence in the queen, which she merits by the nobleness of her character. It was easy for her to have told me nothing of all this, but she always makes an immediate appeal to me in all difficulties, and confides to me the care of her honor. I am her confessor and her judge.
Sire, you make me afraid to speak, lest I should be again accused of want of friendship for the queen. But it is right that all should be spoken, that she may justify herself from the other accusations.
Well, what have you to say?
Let me first hear what she told you.
She said she had not the necklace, that she never signed the receipt for the jewels, that she never authorized Monsieur de Rohan to buy them, that she had never given him the right to think himself more to her than any other of her subjects, and that she was perfectly indifferent to him.
Ah, she said that.
Most decidedly.
Then these rumors about other people?
What others?
Why, if it were not Monsieur de Rohan who walked with the queen.
How? Do they say he walked with her?
The queen denies it, you say. But how came she to be in the park at night? And with whom did she walk?
The queen? In the park at night?
Doubtless, there are always eyes ready to watch every movement of a queen.
Brother, these are infamous things that you repeat. Take care.
Sire, I openly repeat them, that your Majesty may search out the truth.
And they say that the queen walked at night in the park?
Yes, sire. Tête-à-tête.
I do not believe anyone says it.
Unfortunately, I can prove it but too well. There are 4 witnesses. One is the captain of the hunt, who says he saw the queen go out 2 following nights by the door near the kennel of the wolf-hounds. Here is his declaration signed.
The king, trembling, took the paper.
The next is the night watchman at Trianon, who says he saw the queen walking arm in arm with a gentleman. The third is the porter of the west door, who also saw the queen going through the little gate. He states how she was dressed, but that he could not recognize the gentleman. but he thought he looked like an officer. He says he could not be mistaken, for that the queen was accompanied by her friend, Madame de la Motte."
"Her friend!" cried the king furiously.
"This last is from the man whose duty it is to see that all the doors are locked at night. He says that he saw the queen go into the baths of Apollo with a gentleman."
The king, pale with anger and emotion, snatched the paper from the hands of his brother.
"It is true," continued the count, "that Madame de la Motte was outside, and that the queen did not remain more than an hour."
"The name of the gentleman?" cried the king.
"This report does not name him, but here is one dated the next day by a forester, who says it was Monsieur de Charny."
"Monsieur de Charny?" cried the king. "Wait here. I will soon learn the truth of all this." End of chapter 78. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 79 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Last Accusation. As soon as the king left the room, the queen ran toward the boudoir and opened the door. Then, as if her strength failed her, sank down on a chair, waiting for the decision of Monsieur de Charny, her last and most formidable judge. He came out more sad and pale than ever. "Well," said she. "Madame," replied he, "you see, everything opposes our friendship. There can be no peace for me while such scandalous reports circulate in public, putting my private convictions aside." "Then," said the queen, "all I have done, this perilous aggression, this public defiance of one of the greatest nobles in the kingdom, and my conduct being exposed to the test of public opinion, does not satisfy you."
"Oh," cried Charny, "you are noble and generous, I know."
"But you believe me guilty. You believe the cardinal. I command you to tell me what you think."
"I must say then, madame, that he is neither mad nor wicked, as you called him, but a man thoroughly convinced of the truth of what he said, a man who loves you, and the victim of an error which will bring him to ruin, and you."
"Well?"
"To dishonor."
"Mon Dieu!"
This odious woman, this Madame de la Motte, disappearing just when her testimony might have restored you to repose and honor. She is the evil genius, the curse of your reign. She whom you have unfortunately admitted to partake of your intimacy and your secrets."
"Oh, sir!"
"Yes, madame. It is clear that you combined with her and the cardinal to buy this necklace. Pardon if I offend you."
"Stay, sir," replied the queen with a pride not unmixed with anger. "What the king believes, others might believe, and my friends not be harder than my husband. It seems to me that it can give no pleasure to any man to see a woman whom he does not esteem. I do not speak of you, sir. To you, I am not a woman, but a queen. But as you are to me not a man, but a subject, I had advised you to remain in the country, and it was wise. Far from the court, you might have judged me more truly. Too ready to condescend, I have neglected to keep up with those whom I thought loved me, the prestige of royalty. I should have been a queen, and content to govern and not have wished to be loved."
"I cannot express," replied Charny, "how much your severity wounds me. I may have forgotten that you were a queen, but never that you were the woman most in the world worthy of my respect and love."
"Sir, I think your absence is necessary. Something tells me that it will end by your name being mixed up in all this.
Impossible, madame.
You say impossible. Reflect on the power of those who have for so long played with my reputation. You say that Monsieur de Rohan is convinced of what he asserts. Those who cause such convictions would not be long in proving you a disloyal subject to the king and a disgraceful friend for me. Those who invent so easily what is false will not be long in discovering the truth. Lose no time, therefore. The peril is great. Retire, and fly from the scandal which will ensue from the approaching trial. I do not wish that my destiny should involve yours, or your future be ruined. I, who am, thank God, innocent and without a stain on my life. I, who would lay bare my heart to my enemies, could they thus read its purity, will resist to the last. For you might come to ruin, defamation, and perhaps imprisonment. Take away the money you so nobly offered me, and the assurance that not one movement of your generous heart has escaped me, and that your doubts, though they have wounded, have not estranged me. Go, I say, and seek elsewhere what the Queen of France can no longer give you, hope and happiness. From this time to the convocation of Parliament and the production of witnesses must be a fortnight. Your uncle has vessels ready to sail. Go and leave me. I bring misfortunes on my friends."
Saying this, the queen rose and seemed to give Charny his congé. He approached quickly but respectfully. "Your Majesty," cried he in a moved voice, "shows me my duty. It is here that danger awaits you, here that you are to be judged, and that you may have one loyal witness on your side. I remain here. Perhaps we may still make your enemies tremble before the majesty of an innocent queen, and the courage of a devoted man. And if you wish it, madame, I will be equally hidden and unseen as though I went. During a fortnight that I lived within 100 yards of you, watching your every movement, counting your steps, living your life, no one saw me. I can do so again if it pleases you."
"As you please," replied she. "I am no coquette, Monsieur de Charny, and to say what I please is the true privilege of a queen. One day, sir, I chose you from everyone. I do not know what drew my heart towards you, but I had need of a strong and pure friendship, and I allowed you to perceive that need. But now I see that your soul does not respond to mine, and I tell you so frankly."
"Oh, madame," cried Charny, "I cannot let you take away your heart from me. If you have once given it to me, I will keep it with my life. I cannot lose you. You reproached me with my doubts. Oh, do not doubt me."
said she. "But you are weak, and I, alas, am so also."
"You are all I love you to be."
"What?" cried she passionately. "This abused queen, this woman about to be publicly judged, that the world condemns and that her king and husband may, perhaps, also in turn condemn, has she found one heart to love her?"
"A slave who venerates her and offers her his heart's blood in exchange for every pang he has caused her."
"Then," cried she, "this woman is blessed and happy, and complains of nothing."
Charny fell at her feet and kissed her hands in transport. At that moment the door opened, and the king surprised, at the feet of his wife, the man whom he had just heard accused by the Comte de Provence. End of chapter 79. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 80 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Proposal of Marriage. The queen and Charny exchanged a look so full of terror that their most cruel enemy must have pitied them. Charny rose slowly and bowed to the king, whose heart might almost have been seen to beat.
"Huh!" cried he in a hoarse voice. "Monsieur de Charny?"
The queen could not speak. She thought she was lost.
"Monsieur de Charny," repeated the king. "It is little honorable for a gentleman to be taken in the act of theft."
"Of theft?"
murmured Charny. "Yes, sir. To kneel before the wife of another is a theft, and when this woman is a queen, his crime is called high treason."
The count was about to speak, but the queen, ever impatient in her generosity, forestalled him.
"Sire," said she, "you seem in the mood for evil suspicions and unfavorable suppositions, which fall falsely, I warn you. And if respect chains the count's tongue, I will not hear him wrongfully accused without defending him."
Here she stopped, overcome by emotion, frightened at the falsehood she was about to tell, and bewildered because she could not find one to utter. But these few words had somewhat softened the king, who replied more gently.
"You will not tell me, madame, that I did not see Monsieur de Charny kneeling before you, and without your attempting to raise him?" "Therefore you might think," replied she, "that he had some favor to ask me." "A favor?" "Yes, sire, and one which I could not easily grant, or he would not have insisted with so much less warmth."
Charny breathed again, and the king's look became calmer. Marie Antoinette was searching for something to say, with mingled rage at being obliged to lie and grief at not being able to think of anything probable to say. She half hoped the king would be satisfied and ask no more, but he said, "Let us hear, madame. What is the favor so warmly solicited, which made Monsieur de Charny kneel before you? I may, perhaps, more happy than you, be able to grant it." She hesitated. To lie before the man she loved was agony to her, and she would have given the world for Charny to find the answer, but of this he was incapable.
"Sire, I told you that Monsieur de Charny asked an impossible thing." "What is it?" "What can one ask on one's knees?" "I want to hear." "Sire, it is a family secret." "There are no secrets from the king. A father interested in all his subjects, who are his children, although, like unnatural children, they may sometimes attack the honor and safety of their father."
This speech made the queen tremble anew.
"Monsieur de Charny asked," replied she, "permission to marry." "Really?" cried the king, reassured for a moment. Then, after a pause, he said, "But why should it be impossible for Monsieur de Charny to marry? Is he not noble? Has he not a good fortune? Is he not brave and handsome? Really, to refuse him, the lady ought to be a princess, or already married. I can see no other reason for an impossibility. Therefore, madame, tell me the name of the lady who is loved by Monsieur de Charny, and let me see if I cannot remove the difficulty."
The queen, forced to continue her falsehood, replied,
"No, sire. There are difficulties which even you cannot remove, and the present one is of this nature." "Still, I wish to hear," replied the king, his anger returning.
Charny looked at the queen. She seemed ready to faint. He made a step toward her and then drew back. How dared he approach her in the king's presence?
"Oh," thought she, "for an idea, something that the king can neither doubt nor disbelieve."
Then suddenly a thought struck her. She, who has dedicated herself to heaven, the king cannot influence.
"Sire," she cried, "she whom Monsieur de Charny wishes to marry is in a convent." Oh, that is a difficulty, no doubt. But this seems a very sudden love of Monsieur de Charny's. I have never heard of it from anyone. Who is the lady you love, Monsieur de Charny?"
The queen felt in despair, not knowing what he would say and dreading to hear him name anyone. But Charny could not reply, so, after a pause, she cried,
"Sire, you know her. It is Andrea de Taverney."
Charny buried his face in his hands. The queen pressed her hand to her heart and could hardly support herself.
"Mademoiselle de Taverney, but she has gone to Saint Denis." "Yes, sire," replied the queen. "But she has taken no vows." "No, but she is about to do so." "We will see if we can persuade her. Why should she take the vows?" "She is poor," said the queen. "That I can soon alter, madame, if Monsieur de Charny loves her."
The queen shuddered and cast a glance at the young man as if begging him to deny it. He did not speak.
"And I dare say," continued the king, taking his silence for consent, "that Mademoiselle de Taverney loves Monsieur de Charny. I will give her as dowry the 500,000 francs which I refused the other day to you. Thank the queen, Monsieur de Charny, for telling me of this and ensuring your happiness."
Charny bowed like a pale statue which had received an instant's life.
"Oh, it is worth kneeling again for," said the king.
The queen trembled and stretched out her hand to the young man, who left on it a burning kiss.
"Now," said the king, "come with me."
Monsieur de Charny turned once to read the anguish in the eyes of the queen. End of chapter 80. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 81 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Saint Denis. The queen remained alone and despairing. So many blows had struck her that she hardly knew from which she suffered most. How she longed to retract the words she had spoken, to take from Andrea even the chance of the happiness which she still hoped she would refuse. But if she refused, would not the king's suspicions reawaken, and everything seem only the worse for this falsehood? She dared not risk this. She must go to Andrea and confess and implore her to make this sacrifice. Or if she would only temporize, the king's suspicions might pass away, and he might cease to interest himself about it. Thus the liberty of Mademoiselle de Taverney would not be sacrificed, neither would that of Monsieur de Charny, and she would be spared the remorse of having sacrificed the happiness of two people to her honor. She longed to speak again to Charny, but feared discovery, and she knew she might rely upon him to ratify anything she chose to say. 3 o'clock arrived, the state dinner and the presentations, and the queen went through all with a serene and smiling air. When all was over, she changed her dress, got into her carriage, and without any guards and only one companion, drove to Saint Denis and asked to see Andrea. Andrea was at that moment kneeling, dressed in her white peignoir and praying with fervor. She had quitted the court voluntarily and separated herself from all that could feed her love, but she could not stifle her regrets and bitter feelings. Had she not seen Charny apparently indifferent toward her, while the queen occupied all his thoughts? Yet, when she heard that the queen was asking for her, she felt a thrill of pleasure and delight. She threw a mantle over her shoulders and hastened to see her, but on the way she reproached herself with the pleasure that she felt, endeavoring to think that the queen and the court had alike ceased to interest her.
"Come here, Andrea,"
said the queen with a smile as she entered. End of chapter 81. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia.
Chapter 82 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. A Dead Heart. "Andrea," continued the Queen, "it looks strange to see you in this dress. To see an old friend and companion already lost to life is like a warning to ourselves from the tomb. Madame, no one has a right to warn or counsel your Majesty." "That was never my wish," said the Queen. "Tell me truly, Andrea, had you to complain of me when you were at court?" "Your Majesty was good enough to ask me that question when I took leave, and I replied then as now, 'No, madame.'" "But often," said the Queen, "a grief hurts us which is not personal. Have I injured anyone belonging to you? Andrea, the retreat which you have chosen is an asylum against evil passions. Here God teaches gentleness, moderation, and forgiveness of injuries. I come as a friend, and ask you to receive me as such." Andrea felt touched. "Your Majesty knows," said she, "that the Taverneys cannot be your enemies." "I understand," replied the Queen. "You cannot pardon me for having been cold to your brother, and perhaps he himself accuses me of caprice." "My brother is too respectful a subject to accuse the Queen," said Andrea coldly. The Queen saw that it was useless to try and propitiate Andrea on this subject, so she said only, "Well, at least I am ever your friend." "Your Majesty overwhelms me with your goodness." "Do not speak thus. Cannot the Queen have a friend?" "I assure you, madame, that I have loved you as much as I shall ever love anyone in this world." She colored as she spoke. "You have loved me, then you love me no more? Can a cloister so quickly extinguish all affection and all remembrance? If so, it is a cursed place." "Do not accuse my heart, madame. It is dead." "Your heart dead, Andrea? You, so young and beautiful?" "I repeat to you, madame, nothing in the court, nothing in the world, is any more to me. Here I live like the herb or the flower, alone for myself. I entreat you to pardon me. This forgetfulness of the glorious vanities of the world is no crime. My confessor congratulates me on it every day." "Then you like the convent?" "I embrace with pleasure a solitary life." "Nothing remains which attracts you back to the world?" "Nothing." "Mon Dieu," thought the Queen, "shall I fail? If nothing else will succeed, I must have recourse to entreaties, to beg her to accept Monsieur de Charny. Heavens, how unhappy I am!" "Andrea," she said, "what you say takes from me the hope I had conceived." "What hope, madame?" "Oh, if you are as decided as you appear to be, it is useless to speak." "If your Majesty would explain." "You never regret what you have done?" "Never, madame." "Then it is superfluous to speak, and yet I hoped to make you happy." "Me?" "Yes, you, ingrate, but you know best your inclinations." "Still, if your Majesty would tell me—" "Oh, it is simple. I wished you to return to court." "Never." "You refuse me?" "Oh, madame, why should you wish me, sorrowful, poor, despised, avoided by everyone, incapable of inspiring sympathy in either sex? Ah, madame and dear mistress, leave me here to become worthy to be accepted by God, for even He would reject me at present." "But," said the Queen, "what I was about to propose you would have removed all these humiliations of which you complain. a marriage which would have made you one of our great ladies." "A marriage?" stammered Andrea. "Yes." "Oh, I refuse! I refuse!" "Andrea," cried the queen in a supplicating voice. "Ah, no, I refuse." Marie Antoinette prepared herself with a fearfully palpitating heart for her last resource, but as she hesitated, Andrea said, "But, madame, tell me the name of the man who is willing to think of me as his companion for life." "Monsieur de Charny," said the queen with an effort. "Monsieur de Charny?" "Yes, the nephew of Monsieur de Suffren." "It is he?" cried Andrea with burning cheeks and sparkling eyes. "He consents?" "He asks you in marriage." "Oh, I accept, for I love him." The queen became livid and sank back trembling, whilst Andrea kissed her hands, bathing them with her tears. "Oh, I am ready," murmured she. "Come, then," cried the queen, who felt as though her strength was failing her, with a last effort to preserve appearances. Andrea left the room to prepare. Then Marie Antoinette cried with bitter sobs, "Oh, mon Dieu, how can one heart bear so much suffering? And yet I should be thankful, for does it not save my children and myself from shame?" End of chapter 82. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 83 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. In which it is explained why the Baron de Taverney grew fat. Meanwhile, Philippe was hastening the preparations for his departure. He did not wish to witness the dishonor of the queen, his first and only passion. When all was ready, he requested an interview with his father. For the last 3 months the Baron had been growing fat. He seemed to feed on the scandals circulating at the court. They were meat and drink to him. When he received his son's message, instead of sending for him, he went to seek him in his room, already full of the disorder consequent on packing. Philippe did not expect much sensibility from his father, still he did not think he would be pleased. Andrea had already left him, and it was one less to torment, and he must feel a blank when his son went also. Therefore Philippe was astonished to hear his father call out with a burst of laughter, "Oh, mon Dieu, he is going away! I was sure of it! I would have bet upon it! Well played, Philippe! Well played!" "What is well played, sir?" "Admirable," repeated the old man. "You give me praises, sir, which I neither understand nor merit, unless you are pleased at my departure and glad to get rid of me." "Oh, ho, ho," laughed the old man again. "I am not your dupe. Do you think I believe in your departure?" "You do not believe? Really, sir, you surprise me." "Yes, it is surprising that I should have guessed. You are right to pretend to leave. Without this ruse, all, probably, would have been discovered." "Monsieur, I protest! I do not understand one word of what you say to me." "Where do you say you go to?" "I go first to Taverney Maison Rouge." "Very well. But be prudent. There are sharp eyes on you both, and she is so fiery and incautious that you must be prudent for both. What is your address, in case I want to send you any pressing news?" "Taverney, monsieur." "Taverney? Nonsense! I do not ask you for the address of your house in the park, but choose some third address near here.
You who have managed so well for your love can easily manage this."
"Sir, you play at enigmas, and I cannot find the solution."
"Ah, you are discreet beyond all bounds. However, keep your secrets. Tell me nothing of the huntsman's house, nor the nightly walks with two dear friends, nor the rose, nor the kisses."
"Monsieur!" cried Philippe, mad with jealousy and rage, "will you hold your tongue?"
"Well, I know it all. Your intimacy with the queen, and your meetings in the baths of Apollo. Mon Dieu, our fortunes are assured forever."
"Monsieur, you cause me horror," cried poor Philippe, hiding his face in his hands, and indeed he felt it, at hearing attributed to himself all the happiness of another. All the rumors that the father had heard he had assigned to his son, and believed that it was he that the queen loved and no one else. Hence his perfect contentment and happiness.
"Yes," he
went on,
"some said it was Rohan, others that it was Charny, not one that it was Taverney. Oh, you have acted well."
At this moment a carriage was heard to drive up, and a servant entering said, "Here is Mademoiselle." "My sister?" cried Philippe. Then another servant appeared and said that Mademoiselle de Taverney wished to speak to her brother in the boudoir. Another carriage now came to the door.
"Who the devil comes now?"
muttered the baron.
"It is an evening of adventures."
"Monsieur le Comte de Charny," cried the powerful voice of the porter at the gate. "Conduct Monsieur le Comte to the drawing-room. My father will see him, and I will go to my sister. What can he want here?" thought Philippe as he went down. End of chapter 83, recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 84 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Father and the Fiancée. Philippe hastened to the boudoir where his sister awaited him. She ran to embrace him with a joyous air. "What is it, Andrea?" cried he. "Something which makes me happy. Oh, very happy, brother." "And you come back to announce it to me?" "I come back forever," said Andrea. "Speak low, sister. There is, or is going to be, someone in the next room who might hear you." "Who?" "Listen." "Monsieur le Comte de Charny," announced the servant. "He! Oh, I know well what he comes for." "You know?" "Yes, and soon I shall be summoned to hear what he has to say." "Do you speak seriously, my dear Andrea?" "Listen, Philippe, the queen has brought me suddenly back, and I must go and change my dress for one fit for a fiancé." And saying this, with a kiss to Philippe, she ran off. Philippe remained alone. He could hear what passed in the adjoining room. Monsieur de Taverney entered and saluted the count with a recherché, though stiff, politeness. "I come, monsieur," said Charny, "to make a request, and beg you to excuse my not having brought my uncle with me, which I know would have been more proper."
"A request?"
"I have the honor," continued Charny in a voice full of emotion, "to ask the hand of Mademoiselle Andrea, your daughter." The baron opened his eyes in astonishment.
My daughter?"
"Yes, Monsieur le Baron, if Mademoiselle de Taverney feels no repugnance."
"Oh," thought the old man, "Philippe's favor is already so well known that one of his rivals wishes to marry his sister." Then aloud he said, "This request is such an honor to us, Monsieur le Comte, that I accede with much pleasure, and as I should wish you to carry away a perfectly favorable answer, I will send for my daughter." "Monsieur," interrupted the Count rather coldly, "the Queen has been good enough to consult Mademoiselle de Taverney already, and her reply was favorable." "Ah," said the Baron, more and more astonished, "it is the Queen, then?" "Yes, monsieur, who took the trouble to go to Saint Denis." "Then, sir, it only remains to acquaint you with my daughter's fortune. She is not rich, and before concluding—" "It is needless, Monsieur le Baron. I am rich enough for both." At this moment the door opened, and Philippe entered, pale and wild-looking. "Sir," said he, "my father was right to wish to discuss these things with you. While he goes upstairs to bring the papers, I have something to say to you." When they were left alone, "Monsieur de Charny," said he, "how dare you come here to ask for the hand of my sister?" Charny colored. "Is it," continued Philippe, "in order to hide better your amours with another woman, whom you love and who loves you? Is it that by becoming the husband of a woman who is always near your mistress, you will have more facilities for seeing her?" "Sir, you pass all bounds." "It is perhaps, and this is what I believe, that were I your brother-in-law, you think my tongue would be tied about what I know of your past amours?" "What you know?" "Yes," cried Philippe. "The huntsman's house hired by you, your mysterious promenades in the park at night, and the tender parting at the little gate." "Monsieur, in heaven's name—" "Oh, sir, I was concealed behind the baths of Apollo when you came out, arm in arm with the Queen." Charny was completely overwhelmed for a time. Then after a few moments he said, "Well, sir, even after all this, I reiterate my demand for the hand of your sister. I am not the base calculator you suppose me, but the Queen must be saved." "The Queen is not lost, because I saw her on your arm, raising to heaven her eyes full of happiness, because I know that she loves you. That is no reason why my sister should be sacrificed, Monsieur de Charny." "Monsieur," replied Charny, "this morning the king surprised me at her feet." "Mon Dieu!" "And she, pressed by his jealous questions, replied that I was kneeling to ask the hand of your sister. Therefore, if I do not marry her, the Queen is lost. Do you now understand?" A cry from the boudoir now interrupted them, followed by another from the antechamber. Charny ran to the boudoir. He saw there Andrea, dressed in white like a bride. She had heard all, and had fainted. Philippe ran to where the other cry came from. It was his father, whose hopes this revelation of the Queen's love for Charny had just destroyed. Struck by apoplexy, he had given his last sigh. Philippe, who understood it, looked at the corpse for a few minutes in silence, and then returned to the drawing-room, and there saw Charny watching the senseless form of his sister. He then said, "My father has just expired, sir. I am now the head of the family. If my sister survive, I will give her to you in marriage." Charny regarded the corpse of the Baron with horror, and the form of Andrea with despair. Philippe uttered a groan of agony, then continued, "Monsieur de Charny, I make this engagement in the name of my sister, now lying senseless before us. She will give her happiness to the queen, and I perhaps some day shall be happy enough to give my life for her. Adieu, Monsieur de Charny." And taking his sister in his arms, he carried her into the next room. End of chapter 84, recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia.
Chapter 85 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. After the dragon, the viper. Oliva was preparing to fly as Jean had arranged when Beausire, warned by an anonymous letter, discovered her and carried her away. In order to trace them, Jean put all her powers in requisition. She preferred being able to watch over her own secret, and her disappointment was great when all her agents returned announcing a failure. At this time, she received in her hiding-place numerous messages from the Queen. She went by night to Beausire, and there remained for 2 days. At last she was traced and an express sent to take her. Then she learnt the arrest of the Cardinal. "The Queen has been rash," thought she, "in refusing to compromise with the Cardinal, or to pay the jewelers, but she did not know my power." "Monsieur," said she to the officer who arrested her, "do you love the Queen?"
"Certainly, madame."
"Well, in the name of that love, I beg you to conduct me straight to her. Believe me, you will be doing her a service."
The man was persuaded and did so. The Queen received her haughtily, for she began to suspect that her conduct had not been straightforward. She called in 2 ladies as witnesses of what was about to pass.
"You are found at last, madame," said the Queen. "Why did you hide?" "I did not hide, madame." "Run away, then, if that pleases you better." "That is to say that I quitted Paris. I had some little business at Beausire, and, to tell the truth, I did not know I was so necessary to your Majesty as to be obliged to ask leave for an absence of 8 days." "Have you seen the king?" "No, madame." "You shall see him." "It will be a great honor for me, but your Majesty seems very severe towards me. I am all trembling." "Oh, madame, this is but the beginning. Do you know that Monsieur de Rohan has been arrested?" "They told me so, madame." "You guess why?" "No, madame." "You proposed to me that he should pay for a certain necklace. Did I accept or refuse?" "Refuse?" "Ah," said the Queen, well pleased. "Your Majesty even paid 100,000 francs on account." "Well, and afterwards?" "Afterwards, as your Majesty could not pay, you sent it back to Monsieur Boehmer." "By whom?" "By me." "And what did you do with it?" "I took it to the Cardinal." "And why to the Cardinal instead of to the jewelers, as I told you?" "Because I thought he would be hurt if I returned it without letting him know." "But how did you get a receipt from the jewelers?" "Monsieur de Rohan gave it to me." "But why did you take a letter to them as coming from me?" "Because he gave it to me and asked me to do so." "Is this, then, all his doing?" "What is, madame?" "The receipt and the letter are both forged." "Forged, madame?" cried Jean with much apparent astonishment. "Well, you must be confronted with him to prove the truth." "Why, madame?" "He himself demands it. He says he has sought you everywhere, and that he wishes to prove that you have deceived him." "Oh, then, madame, let us meet." "You shall. You deny all knowledge of where the necklace is." "How should I know, madame?" You deny having aided the cardinal in his intrigues? I am a Valois, madame. But Monsieur de Rohan maintained before the king many calumnies which he said you would confirm. I do not understand. He declares he wrote to me. Jean did not reply. Do you hear? Said the queen. Yes, madame. What do you reply? I will reply when I have seen him. But speak the truth now. Your Majesty overwhelms me. That is no answer. I will give no other here. And she looked at the two ladies. The queen understood, but would not yield. She scorned to purchase anything by concession. Monsieur de Rohan, said the queen, was sent to the Bastille for saying too much. Take care, madame, that you are not sent for saying too little. Jean smiled. A pure conscience can brave persecution, she replied. The Bastille will not convict me of a crime I did not commit. Will you reply? Only to your Majesty. Are you not speaking to me? Not alone. Ha! You fear scandal, after being the cause of so much to me? What I did, said Jean, was done for you. What insolence! I submit to the insults of my queen. You will sleep in the Bastille tonight, madame. So be it. I will first pray to God to preserve your Majesty's honor. The queen rose furiously and went into the next room. After having conquered the dragon, she said, I can crush the viper. End of chapter 85. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 86 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. How it came to pass that Monsieur Beausire was tracked by the agents of Monsieur de Crosne. Madame de Lamotte was imprisoned as the Queen had threatened, and the whole affair created no little talk and excitement through France. Monsieur de Rohan lived at the Bastille like a prince. He had everything but liberty. He demanded to be confronted with Madame de Lamotte as soon as he heard of her arrest. This was done. She whispered to him, Send everyone away, and I will explain. He asked this, but was refused. They said his council might communicate with her. She said to this gentleman that she was ignorant of what had become of the necklace, but that they might well have given it to her in recompense for the services she had rendered the Queen and the Cardinal, which were well worth $1.5 million. The Cardinal turned pale on hearing this repeated and felt how much they were in Jean's power. He was determined not to accuse the Queen, although his friends endeavored to convince him that it was his only way to prove his innocence of the robbery. Jean said that she did not wish to accuse either the Queen or the Cardinal, but that, if they persisted in making her responsible for the necklace, she would do so to show that they were interested in accusing her of falsehood. Then Monsieur de Rohan expressed all his contempt for her, and said that he began to understand much of Jean's conduct, but not the Queen's. All this was reported to Marie Antoinette. She ordered another private examination of the parties, but gained nothing from it. Jean denied everything to those sent by the Queen, but when they were gone she altered her tone and said, If they do not leave me alone, I will tell all. The Cardinal said nothing and brought no accusations, but rumors began to spread fast, and the question soon became not, has the Queen stolen the necklace, but has she allowed someone else to steal it because she knew all about her amours? Madame de Lamotte had involved her in a maze, from which there seemed no honorable exit, but she determined not to lose courage. She began to come to the conclusion that the Cardinal was an honest man, and did not wish to ruin her, but was acting like herself only to preserve his honor. They strove earnestly but ineffectually to trace the necklace. All opinions were against Jean, and she began to fear that even if she dragged down the queen and cardinal, she should be quite overwhelmed under the ruins she had caused, and she had not even at hand the fruits of her dishonesty to corrupt her judges with. Affairs were in this state when a new episode changed the face of things. Oliva and Monsieur Beausire were living happy and rich in a country house, when one day Beausire, going out hunting, fell into the company of two of the agents of Monsieur de Crosne, whom he had scattered all over the country. They recognized Beausire immediately, but as it was Oliva whom they most wanted, they did not arrest him there, but only joined the chase. Beausire, seeing two strangers, called the huntsman and asked who they were. He replied that he did not know, but if he had permission, would send them away. On his questioning them, they said they were friends of that gentleman, pointing to Monsieur Beausire. Then the man brought them to him, saying, "Monsieur de Linville, these gentlemen say they are friends of yours." "Ah, you are called de Linville now, dear Monsieur Beausire." Beausire trembled. He had concealed his name so carefully. He sent away the huntsmen and asked them who they were. "Take us home with you, and we will tell you." "Home?" "Yes. Do not be inhospitable." Beausire was frightened, but still feared to refuse these men who knew him. End of chapter 86, recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 87 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The turtles are caged. Beausire, on entering the house, made a noise to attract Oliva's attention, for though he knew nothing about her later escapades, he knew enough about the ball at the opera and the morning at Monsieur Mesmer's to make him fear letting her be seen by strangers. Accordingly, Oliva heard the dogs bark, looked out, and seeing Beausire returning with two strangers, did not come to meet him as usual. Unfortunately, the servant asked if he should call Madame. The men rallied him about the lady whom he had concealed. He let them laugh, but did not offer to call her. They dined, then Beausire asked where they had met him before. "We are," replied they, "friends of one of your associates in a little affair about the Portuguese embassy." Beausire turned pale. "Ah," said he, "and you came on your friend's part?" "Yes, dear Monsieur Beausire, to ask for 10,000 francs. "Gentlemen," replied Beausire, "you cannot think I have such a sum in the house." "Very likely not, monsieur. We do not ask for impossibilities. How much have you?" "Not more than 50 or 60 louis." "We will take them to begin with." "I will go and fetch them," said Beausire, but they did not choose to let him leave the room without them, so they caught hold of him by the coat, saying, "Oh no, dear Monsieur Beausire, do not leave us." "But how am I to get the money if I do not leave you?" "We will go with you." "But it is in my wife's bedroom." "Ah," cried one of them, "you hide your wife from us." "Are we not presentable?" asked the other. "We wish to see her." "You are tipsy, and I will turn you out," said Beausire. They laughed. "Now you shall not even have the money I promised," said he, emboldened by what he thought their intoxication, and he ran out of the room. They followed and caught him. He cried out, and at the sound a door opened, and a woman looked out with a frightened air. On seeing her, the men released Beausire and gave a cry of exultation, for they recognized her immediately, who resembled the Queen of France so strongly. Beausire, who believed them for a moment disarmed by the sight of a woman, was soon cruelly undeceived. One of the men approached Oliva and said, "I arrest you." "Arrest her? Why?" cried Beausire.
Because it is Monsieur de Crosne's orders.
A thunderbolt falling between the lovers would have frightened them less than this declaration. At last Beausire said,
"You came to arrest me?"
No, it was a chance.
"Never mind, you might have arrested me, and for 60 louis you were about to leave me at liberty?"
Oh, no, we should have asked another 60. However, for 100 we will do so.
"And Madame?"
Oh, that is quite a different affair.
"She is worth 200 louis,"
said Beausire. They laughed again, and this time Beausire began to understand this terrible laugh.
300, 400, 1,000. See, I will give you 1,000 louis to leave her at liberty."
They did not answer.
"Is that not enough? Ah, you know I have money, and you want to make me pay. Well, I will give you 2,000 louis. It will make both your fortunes."
For 100,000 crowns we would not give up this woman. Monsieur de Rohan will give us 500,000 francs for her, and the queen 1,000,000. Now we must go. You doubtless have a carriage of some kind here. Have it prepared for Madame. We will take you also, for form's sake. But on the way you can escape, and we will shut our eyes."
Beausire replied,
"Where she goes, I will go. I will never leave her."
"Oh, so much the better. The more prisoners we bring Monsieur de Crosne, the better he will be pleased."
A quarter of an hour after, Beausire's carriage started with the two lovers in it. One may imagine the effect of this capture on Monsieur de Crosne. The agents probably did not receive the 1,000,000 francs they hoped for, but there is reason to believe they were satisfied. Monsieur de Crosne went to Versailles, followed by another carriage well guarded. He asked to see the queen and was instantly admitted. She judged from his face that he had good news for her, and felt the first sensation of joy she had experienced for a month.
"Madame," said Monsieur de Crosne, "have you a room here where you can see without being seen?"
"Oh, yes, my library."
"Well, madame, I have a carriage below, in which is someone whom I wish to introduce into the castle unseen by anyone."
"Nothing more easy," replied the queen, ringing to give her orders. All was executed as he wished. Then she conducted Monsieur de Crosne to the library, where, concealed from view behind a large screen, she soon saw enter a form which made her utter a cry of surprise. It was Oliva, dressed in one of her own favorite costumes, a green dress with broad stripes of black moire, green satin slippers with high heels, and her hair dressed like her own. It might have been herself reflected in the glass.
"What says your majesty to this resemblance?"
asked Monsieur de Crosne triumphantly. "Incredible," said the queen. She then thought to herself, "Ah, Charny, why are you not here?"
"What does your majesty wish?"
"Nothing, sir, but that the king should know."
"And Monsieur de Provence see her, shall he not, madame?"
"Thanks, Monsieur de Crosne. You hold now, I think, the clue to the whole plot."
"Nearly so, madame."
"And Monsieur de Rohan?"
"Knows nothing yet."
"Ha!" cried the woman. "In this woman doubtless lies all his error."
"Possibly, madame, but if it be his error, it is the crime of someone else."
"Seek well, sir. The honor of France is in your hands."
"Believe me worthy of the trust. At present, the accused parties deny everything. I shall wait for the proper time to overwhelm them with this living witness that I now hold."
"Madame de Lamotte?"
"Knows nothing of this capture. She accuses Monsieur de Cagliostro of having excited the cardinal to say what he did."
"And what does Monsieur de Cagliostro say?"
"He has promised to come to me this morning. He is a dangerous man, but a useful one, and attacked by Madame de la Motte. I am in hopes he will sting back again."
"You hope for revelations?"
"I do."
"How so, sir? Tell me everything which can reassure me."
"These are my reasons, madame. Madame de la Motte lived in the Rue Saint Cloud, and Monsieur de Cagliostro just opposite her. So I think her movements cannot have been unnoticed by him. But if your majesty will excuse me, it is close to the time he appointed to meet me."
"Go, monsieur, go, and assure yourself of my gratitude." When he was gone, the queen burst into tears. "My justification begins," said she. "I shall soon read my triumph in all faces. But the one I most cared to know me innocent, him I shall not see." Monsieur de Crosne drove back to Paris, where Monsieur de Cagliostro waited for him. He knew all, for he had discovered Beausire's retreat and was on the road to see him and induce him to leave France when he met the carriage containing Beausire and Oliva. Beausire saw the count, and the idea crossed his mind that he might help them. He therefore accepted the offer of the police agents, gave them the 100 louis, and made his escape in spite of the tears shed by Oliva, saying,
"I go to try and save you."
He ran after Monsieur de Cagliostro's carriage, which he soon overtook as the count had stopped, it being useless to proceed. Beausire soon told his story. Cagliostro listened in silence, then said, "She is lost."
"Why so?"
Then Cagliostro told him all he did not already know, all the intrigues in the park.
"Oh, save her!" cried Beausire, "and I will give her to you if you love her still."
"My friend," replied Cagliostro, "you deceive yourself. I never loved Mademoiselle Oliva. I had but one aim, that of weaning her from the life of debauchery she was leading with you."
"But,"
said Beausire, "that astonishes you. Know that I belong to a society whose object is moral reform. Ask her if ever she heard from my mouth one word of gallantry, or if my services were not disinterested."
"Oh, monsieur, but will you save her?"
"I will try, but it will depend on yourself."
"I will do anything."
"Then return with me to Paris, and if you follow my instructions implicitly, we may succeed in saving her. I only impose one condition, which I will tell you when I reach home."
"I promise beforehand, but can I see her again?"
"I think so, and you can tell her what I say to you."
In 2 hours they overtook the carriage containing Oliva, and Beausire bought for 50 louis permission to embrace her and tell her all the count had said. The agents admired this violent love and hoped for more louis, but Beausire was gone. Cagliostro drove him to Paris. We will now return to Monsieur de Crosne. This gentleman knew a good deal about Cagliostro, his former names, his pretensions to ubiquity and perpetual regeneration, his secrets in alchemy and magnetism, and looked upon him as a great charlatan. "Monsieur," said he to Cagliostro, "you asked me for an audience. I have returned from Versailles to meet you." "Sir, I thought you would wish to question me about what is passing, so I came to you." "Question you?" said the magistrate, affecting surprise. "On what?" "Monsieur," replied Cagliostro,
You are much occupied about Madame de la Motte and the missing necklace.
Have you found it? asked Monsieur de Crosne, laughing.
No, sir, but Madame de la Motte lived in the Rue Saint Cloud.
I know, opposite you.
Oh, if you know all about Oliva, I have nothing more to tell you.
Who is Oliva?
You do not know?
Then, sir, imagine a young
girl, very pretty, with blue eyes and an oval face, a style of beauty, something like Her Majesty, for instance.
Well, sir?
This young girl led a bad life. It gave me pain to see it, for she was once in the service of an old friend of mine, Monsieur de Taverney. But I weary you.
Oh, no, pray go on.
Well, Oliva led not only a bad life, but an unhappy one, with a fellow she called her lover, who beat and robbed her.
Beausire, said the magistrate.
Ah, you know him. You are still more a magician than I am. Well, one day when Beausire had beaten the poor girl more than usual, she fled to me for refuge. I pitied her and gave her shelter in one of my houses.
In your house? Cried Monsieur de Crosne in surprise.
Oh, and why not? I am a bachelor,
said Cagliostro with an air which quite deceived Monsieur de Crosne. That is then the reason why my agents could not find her.
What? You were seeking this little girl? Had she then been guilty of any crime?
No, sir, no. Pray go on.
Oh, I have done. I lodged her at my house, and that is all.
No, sir, for you just now associated her name with that of Madame de la Motte.
Only as neighbors.
But, sir, this Oliva, whom you say you had in your house, I found in the country with Beausire.
With Beausire? Ah, then I have wronged Madame de la Motte.
How so, sir?
Why, just as I thought I had hopes of reforming Oliva and bringing her back to an honest life, someone carried her away from me.
That is strange.
Is it not? And I firmly believed it to be Madame de la Motte. But as you found her with Beausire, it was not she, and all her signals and correspondence with Oliva meant nothing.
With Oliva?
Yes.
They met?
Yes. Madame de la Motte found a way to take Oliva out every night.
Are you sure of this?
I saw and heard her.
Oh, sir, you tell me what I would have paid for with 1,000 francs a word. But you are a friend of Monsieur de Rohan?
Yes.
You ought to know how far he was connected with this affair.
I do not wish to know.
But you know the object of these nightly excursions of Madame de la Motte and Oliva?
Of that also I wish to be ignorant.
Sir, I only wish to ask you one more question. Have you proofs of the correspondence of Madame de la Motte and Oliva?
Plenty.
What are they?
Notes which Madame de la Motte used to throw over to Oliva with a crossbow. Several of them did not reach their destination and were picked up either by myself or my servants in the street.
Sir, you will be ready to produce them, if called upon?
Certainly. They are perfectly innocent and cannot injure anyone. And have you any other proofs of intimacy?" "I know that she had a method of entering my house to see Oliver. I saw her myself, just after Oliver had disappeared, and my servants saw her also." "But what did she come for if Oliver was gone?" "I did not know. I saw her come out of a carriage at the corner of the street. My idea was that she wished to attach Oliver to her, and keep her near her." "And you let her do it?" "Why not? She is a great lady and received at court. Why should I have prevented her taking charge of Oliver and taking her off my hands?" "What did she say when she found that Oliver was gone?" "She appeared distressed." "You suppose that Beausire carried her off?" "I suppose so, for you tell me you found them together. I did not suspect him before, for he did not know where she was." "She must have let him know herself." "I think not, as she had fled from him. I think Madame de Lamotte must have sent him a key." "Ah, what day was it?" "The evening of Saint Louis." "Monsieur, you have rendered a great service to me and to the state." "I am happy to hear it." "You shall be thanked as you deserve. I may count on the production of the proofs you mention?" "I am ready, sir, to assist justice at all times." As Cagliostro left, he muttered, "Ah, Countess, you tried to accuse me. Take care of yourself." Meanwhile, Monsieur de Breteuil was sent by the king to examine Madame de Lamotte. She declared that she had proofs of her innocence which she would produce at the proper time. She also declared that she would only speak the truth in the presence of the cardinal. She was told that the cardinal laid all the blame upon her. "Tell him, then," she said, "that I advise him not to persist in such a foolish system of defense." "Whom then do you accuse?" asked Monsieur de Breteuil. "I accuse no one," was her reply. A report was spread at last that the diamonds were being sold in England by Monsieur Rateau de Villette. This man was soon found and arrested and brought over and confronted with Jeanne. To her utter confusion, he acknowledged that he had forged a receipt from the jewelers and a letter from the queen at the request of Madame de Lamotte. She denied furiously and declared that she had never seen Monsieur Rateau. Monsieur de Crosne produced as witness a coachman who swore to having driven her on the day named to the house of Monsieur Rateau. Also, one of the servants of Monsieur de Cagliostro deposed to having seen this man on the box of Jeanne's carriage on the night that she came to his master's house. Now, Jeanne began to abuse the count, and accused him of having inspired Monsieur de Rohan with the ideas inimical to the royal dignity. Monsieur de Rohan defended him, and Jeanne at once plainly accused the cardinal of a violent love for the queen. Monsieur de Cagliostro requested to be incarcerated and allowed to prove his innocence publicly. Then the queen caused to be published all the reports made to the king about the nocturnal promenades, and requested Monsieur de Crosne to state all that he knew about it. This public avowal overturned all Jeanne's plans, and she denied having assisted at any meetings between the queen and the cardinal. This declaration would have cleared the queen had it been possible to attach any credence to what this woman said. While Jeanne continued to deny that she had ever been in the park, they brought forward Oliver at last, a living witness of all the falsehoods of the countess. When Oliver was shown to the cardinal, the blow was dreadful. He saw at last how infamously he had been played upon. This man, so full of delicacy and noble passions, discovered that an adventuress had led him to insult and despise the Queen of France, a woman whom he loved and who was innocent. He would have shed all his blood at the feet of Marie Antoinette to make atonement,
but he could not even acknowledge his mistake without owning that he loved her. Even his excuse would involve an offense. So he was obliged to keep silent and allow Jean to deny everything. Oliva confessed all without reserve. At last, Jean, driven from every hold, confessed that she had deceived the cardinal, but declared that it was done with the consent of the queen, who watched and enjoyed the scene, hidden behind the trees. To this story she kept. The queen could never disprove it, and there were plenty of people willing to believe it true. End of chapter 87. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 88 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Last Hope Lost. Here the affair therefore rested, for Jean was determined to share the blame with someone, as she could not turn it from herself. All her calculations had been defeated by the frankness with which the Queen had met and made public every accusation against her. At last, Jean wrote the following letter to the Queen. Madame, in spite of my painful position and rigorous treatment, I have not uttered a complaint. All that has been tried to extort avowals from me has failed to make me compromise my sovereign. However, although persuaded that my constancy and discretion will facilitate my release from my present position, the friends of the cardinal make me fear I shall become his victim. A long imprisonment, endless questions, and the shame and despair of being accused of such crimes begin to exhaust my courage, and I tremble lest my constancy should at last give way. Your Majesty might end all this by a few words to Monsieur de Breteuil, who could give the affair in the king's eye any color your Majesty likes, without compromising you. It is the fear of being compelled to reveal all which makes me beg your Majesty to take steps to relieve me from my painful position. I am, with profound respect, your humble servant, Jean de la Motte. Jean calculated either that this letter would frighten the Queen, or, what was more probable, would never reach her hands, but be carried by the messenger to the governor of the Bastille, where it could hardly fail to tell against the Queen. She then wrote to the cardinal. I cannot conceive, Monseigneur, why you persist in not speaking plainly. It seems to me that your best plan would be to confide fully in our judges. As for me, I am resolved to be silent if you will not second me. But why do you not speak? Explain all the circumstances of this mysterious affair, for if I were to speak first and you not support me, I should be sacrificed to the vengeance of her who wishes to ruin us. But I have written her a letter which will perhaps induce her to spare us, who have nothing to reproach ourselves with. This letter she gave to the cardinal at their last confrontation. He grew pale with anger at her audacity, and left the room. Then Jean produced her letter to the Queen and begged the Abbé Laquelle, chaplain of the Bastille, who had accompanied the cardinal and was devoted to him, to take charge of it and convey it to the Queen. He refused to take it. She declared that if he did not, she would produce Monsieur de Rohan's letters to the Queen. And take care, sir, added she, for they will cause his head to fall on the scaffold. At this moment the cardinal reappeared. Madame, said he, let my head fall, so that I have the satisfaction of seeing also the scaffold, which you mount as a thief and a forger. Come, Abbé. He went away, leaving Jean devoured with rage and disappointment at her failures at every turn. End of chapter 88, recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 89 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Baptism of the Little Beausire. Madame de la Motte had deceived herself on all points, Cagliostro upon none. Once in the Bastille he saw a good opportunity for working at the ruin of the monarchy, which he had been trying to undermine for so many years. he prepared the famous letter, dated from London, which appeared a month after. In this letter, after attacking King, Queen, Cardinal, and even Monsieur de Breteuil, he said, "Yes, I repeat, now free after my imprisonment, there is no crime that would not be expiated by 6 months in the Bastille. They ask me if I shall ever return to France. Yes, I reply, when the Bastille becomes a public promenade. You have all that is necessary to happiness, you Frenchmen. A fertile soil and genial climate, good hearts, gay tempers, genius and grace. You only want, my friends, one little thing: to feel sure of sleeping quietly in your beds when you are innocent." Oliva kept her word faithfully to Cagliostro and uttered no word that could compromise him. She threw all the blame on Madame de la Motte, and asserted vehemently her own innocent participation in what she believed to be a joke, played on a gentleman unknown to her. All this time she did not see Beausire, but she had a souvenir of him, for in the month of May she gave birth to a son. Beausire was allowed to attend the baptism which took place in the prison, which he did with much pleasure, swearing that if Oliva ever recovered her liberty, he would make her his wife. End of chapter 89. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 90 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Trial. The day at last arrived, after long investigations, when the judgment of the court was to be pronounced. All the accused had been removed to the Conciergerie to be in readiness to appear when called on. Oliva continued to be frank and timid, Cagliostro tranquil and indifferent, Rateau despairing, cowardly, and weeping, and Jean violent, menacing, and venomous. She had managed to interest the keeper and his wife and thus obtain more freedom and indulgences. The first who took his place on the wooden stool which was appropriated for the accused was Rateau, who asked pardon with tears and prayers, declared all he knew, and avowed his crimes. He interested no one, he was simply a knave and a coward. After him came Madame de la Motte. Her appearance produced a great sensation. At the sight of the disgraceful seat prepared for her, she who called herself a Valois threw around her furious looks, but, meeting curiosity instead of sympathy, repressed her rage. When interrogated, she continued as before to throw out insinuations, stating nothing clearly about her own innocence. When questioned as to the letters which she was reported to have said passed between the Queen and the Cardinal, she answered that she did not wish to compromise the Queen, and that the Cardinal was best able to answer this question himself. "Ask him to produce them," said she. "I wish to say nothing about them." She inspired in nearly all a feeling of distrust and anger. When she retired, her only consolation was the hope of seeing the Cardinal in the seat after her, and her rage was extreme when she saw it taken away and an armchair brought for his use. The Cardinal advanced, accompanied by 4 attendants, and the governor of the Bastille walked by his side. At his entrance, he was greeted by a long murmur of sympathy and respect. It was echoed by loud shouts from without. It was the people who cheered him. He was pale and much moved. The president spoke politely to him and begged him to sit down. When he spoke, it was with a trembling voice and a troubled and even humble manner. He gave excuses rather than proofs, and supplications more than reasons, but said little, and seemed to be deserted by his former eloquence. Oliva came next. The wooden stool was brought back for her. Many people trembled at seeing this living image of the Queen sitting there as a criminal. Then Cagliostro was called, but almost as a matter of form, and dismissed immediately. The court then announced that the proceedings were concluded, and the deliberations about to begin. All the prisoners were locked for the night in the Conciergerie. The sentence was not pronounced till the following day. Jean seated herself early at the window, and before long heard a tremendous shouting from the crowd collected to hear the sentence. This continued for some time, when she distinctly heard a passer-by say, "A grand day for the cardinal." "For the cardinal?" thought Jean. "Then he is acquitted." And she ran to Monsieur Hubert, the keeper, to ask, but he did not know. "He must be acquitted," she said. "They said it was a grand day for him, but I—"
"Well, madame," said he, "if he is acquitted, why should you not be acquitted also?"
Jean returned to the window.
"You are wrong, madame," said Madame Hubert to her. "You only become agitated without perfectly understanding what is passing. Pray, remain quiet until your council comes to communicate your fate."
"I cannot," said Jean, continuing to listen what passed in the street. A woman passed, gaily dressed, with a bouquet in her hand. "He shall have my bouquet, the dear man," said she. "Oh, I would embrace him if I could."
"And I also," said another.
"He is so handsome," said a third. "It must be the cardinal," said Jean. "He is acquitted." And she said this with so much bitterness that the keeper said, "But, madame, do you not wish the poor prisoner to be released?" Jean, unwilling to lose their sympathy, replied, "Oh, you misunderstand me. Do you believe me so envious and wicked as to wish ill to my companions in misfortune? Oh, no, I trust he is free. It is only impatience to learn my own fate, and you tell me nothing."
"We do not know," replied they.
Then other loud cries were heard. Jean could see the crowd pressing round an open carriage, which was going slowly along. Flowers were thrown, hats waved. Some even mounted on the steps to kiss the hand of a man who sat, grave and half frightened at his own popularity. This was the cardinal. Another man sat by him, and cries of "Vive Cagliostro!" were mingled with the shouts for Monsieur de Rohan. Jean began to gather courage from all this sympathy for those whom she chose to call the queen's victims, but suddenly the thought flashed on her. "They are already set free, and no one has even been to announce my sentence?" And she trembled. New shouts now drew her attention to a coach which was also advancing, followed by a crowd, and in this Jean recognized Oliva, who sat smiling with delight at the people who cheered her, holding her child in her arms. Then Jean, seeing all these people free, happy, and fêted, began to utter loud complaints that she was not also liberated, or at least told her fate.
"Calm yourself, madame," said Madame Hubert.
"But tell me, for you must know."
"Madame—"
"I implore you, you see how I suffer."
"We are forbidden, madame."
"Is it so frightful that you dare not?"
"Oh, no. Calm yourself."
"Then speak."
"Will you be patient and not betray us?"
"I swear."
"Well, the cardinal is acquitted."
"I know it."
"Monsieur de Cagliostro and Mademoiselle Oliva are also acquitted. Monsieur Rétaux condemned to the galleys."
"And I?"
cried Jean furiously. "Madame, you promised to be patient."
"See, speak. I am calm."
"Banished," said the woman feebly.
A flash of delight shone for a moment in the eyes of the countess. Then she pretended to faint and threw herself into the arms of Madame Hubert.
"What would it have been," thought she, "if I had told her the truth?"
"Banishment," thought Jean. "That is liberty, riches, vengeance. It is what I hoped for. I have won." End of chapter 90. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 92 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Execution. Jean waited for her counsel to come and announce her fate, but being now at ease, said to herself, "What do I care that I am thought more guilty than Monsieur de Rohan? I am banished. That is to say, I can carry away my 1.5 million with me, and live under the orange trees of Seville during the winter, and in Germany or England in the summer. Then I can tell my own story, and, young, rich, and celebrated, live as I please among my friends." Pleasing herself with these notions, she commenced settling all her future plans, the disposal of her diamonds, and her establishment in London. This brought to her mind Monsieur Rateau. "Poor fellow," thought she, "it is he who pays for all. Someone must suffer, and it always falls on the humblest instrument. Poor Rateau pays now for his pamphlets against the Queen. He has led a hard life of blows and escapes, and now it terminates with the galleys." She dined with Monsieur and Madame Hubert, and was quite gay, but they did not respond, and were silent and uneasy. Jean, however, felt so happy that she cared little for the manner towards her. After dinner, she asked when they were coming to read her sentence. Monsieur Hubert said that they were probably waiting till she returned to her room. She therefore rose to go, when Madame Hubert ran to her and took her hands, looking at her with an expression of so much pity and sympathy that it struck her for a moment with terror. She was about to question her, but Hubert took her hand and led her from the room. When she reached her own apartment, she found 8 soldiers waiting outside. She felt surprised, but went in and allowed the man to lock her up as usual. Soon, however, the door opened again, and one of the turnkeys appeared. "Will Madame please to follow me?" said he. "Where?" "Below." "What for? What do they want with me?" "Madame, Monsieur Violet, your counsel, wishes to speak to you." "Why does he not come here?" "Madame, he has received letters from Versailles and wishes to show them to you." "Letters from Versailles," thought Jean. "Perhaps the Queen has interested herself for me since the sentence was passed. Wait a little," she said, "till I arrange my dress." In 5 minutes she was ready. "Perhaps," she thought, "Monsieur Violet has come to get me to leave France at once, and the Queen is anxious to facilitate the departure of so dangerous an enemy." She followed the turnkey downstairs, and they entered a room which looked like a vault. It was damp and almost dark. "Sir," said she, trying to overcome her terror, "where is Monsieur Violet?" The man did not reply. "What do you want?" continued she. "Have you anything to say to me? You have chosen a very singular place for a rendezvous." "We are waiting for Monsieur Violet," he said. "It is not possible that Monsieur Violet should wish for me to wait for him here." All at once, another door which Jean had not before observed opened, and 3 men entered. Jean looked at them in surprise and with growing terror. One of them, who was dressed in black, with a roll of papers in his hand, advanced and said,
"You are Jean de Saint-Remy de Valois, wife of Marc-Antoine Nicolas, Count de la Motte?"
"Yes, sir."
"Born at Fontaine on the 22nd of July, 1756.
"Yes, sir."
"You live at Paris, Rue Saint-Cloud."
"Yes, sir. But why these questions?"
"Madame, I am the registrar of the court, and I am come to read you the sentence of the court of the 31st of May, 1786.
Jean trembled again, and now looked at the other 2 men. One had a gray dress with steel buttons, the other a fur cap on, and an apron which seemed to her spotted with blood. She drew back, but the registrar said,
"On your knees, madame, if you please."
On my knees, cried Jean. I? A Valois?
It is the order, madame.
But, sir, it is an unheard of thing, except where some degrading sentence has been pronounced, and banishment is not such.
I did not tell you were sentenced to banishment,
said he gravely. But to what then?
I will tell you, madame, when you are on your knees.
Never.
Madame, I only follow my instructions.
Never, I tell you.
Madame, it is the order that when the condemned refuse to kneel, they should be forced to do it.
Force? To a woman?
There is no distinction in the eyes of justice.
Ha! cried Jean. This is the Queen's doings. I recognize the hands of an enemy.
You are wrong to accuse the Queen. She has nothing to do with the orders of the court. Come, madame, I beg you to spare me the necessity of violence, and kneel down.
Never. And she planted herself firmly in the corner of the room. The registrar then signed to the two other men, who, approaching, seized her, and in spite of her cries, dragged her into the middle of the room. But she bounded up again. "Let me stand," said she, "and I will listen patiently."
Madame, whenever criminals are punished by whipping, they kneel to receive the sentence.
"Whipping!" screamed Jean. "Miserable wretch! How dare you!" The men forced her on her knees once more and held her down, but she struggled so furiously that they called out, "Read quickly, monsieur, for we cannot hold her." "I will never hear such an infamous sentence," she cried, and indeed she drowned his voice so effectually with her screams that although he read, not a word could be heard. He replaced his papers in his pocket, and she, thinking he had finished, stopped her cries. Then he said,
"And the sentence shall be executed at the place of executions, Cour de Justice."
"Publicly!" screamed she.
"Monsieur de Paris, I deliver you this woman,"
said the registrar, addressing the man with the leathern apron. "Who is this man?" cried Jean in a fright.
"The executioner,"
replied the registrar. The two men then took hold of her to lead her out, but her resistance was so violent that they were obliged to drag her along by force, and she never ceased uttering the most frantic cries. They took her thus into the court called Cour de Justice, where there was a scaffold, and which was crowded with spectators. On a platform, raised about 8 feet, was a post garnished with iron rings, and with a ladder to mount to it. This place was surrounded with soldiers. When she appeared, cries of "Here she is!" mingled with much abuse were heard from the crowd. Numbers of the partisans of Monsieur de Rohan had assembled to hoot her, and cries of
"A Balamot, the forger!"
were heard on every side, and those who tried to express pity for her were soon silenced. Then she cried in a loud voice, "Do you know who I am? I am the blood of your kings. They strike in me, not a criminal, but a rival. Not only a rival, but an accomplice. Yes," repeated she, as the people kept silence to kept listen, "an accomplice. They punish one who knows the secrets of—"
"Take care,"
interrupted the registrar. She turned and saw the executioner with the whip in his hand. At this sight she forgot her desire to captivate the multitude and even her hatred, and sinking on her knees, she said, "Have pity," and seized his hand, but he raised the other and let the whip fall lightly on her shoulders. She jumped up and was about to try and throw herself off the scaffold when she saw the other man, who was drawing from a fire a hot iron. At this sight she uttered a perfect howl, which was echoed by the people. "Help! Help!" she cried, trying to shake off the cord with which they were tying her hands. The executioner at last forced her on her knees and tore open her dress. But she cried with a voice which was heard through all the tumult, "Cowardly Frenchman, you do not defend me, but let me be tortured. Oh, it is my own fault. If I had said all I knew of the queen, I should have been—" She could say no more, for she was gagged by the attendants. Then 2 men held her while the executioner performed his office. At the touch of the iron she fainted, and was carried back insensible to the conciergerie when the crowd gradually dispersed. End of chapter 91. Recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. Chapter 92 of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Marriage. On the same day at noon, the king entered a drawing-room where the queen was sitting in full dress, but pale through her rouge, and surrounded by a party of ladies and gentlemen. He glanced frequently toward the door. "Are not the young couple ready? I believe it is noon," he said. "Sire, Monsieur de Charny is waiting in the gallery for your Majesty's orders," said the queen with a violent effort. "Oh, let him come in." The queen turned from the door. "The bride ought to be here also," continued the king. "It is time." "Your Majesty must excuse Mademoiselle de Taverney if she is late," replied Monsieur de Charny, advancing. "For since the death of her father, she has not left her bed until today, and she fainted when she did so." "This dear child loved her father so much," replied the king, "but we hope a good husband will console her. Monsieur de Breteuil," said he, turning to that gentleman, "have you made out the order of banishment for Monsieur de Cagliostro?" "Yes, sire." "And that de la Motte, is it not today she is to be branded?" At this moment Andrea appeared, dressed in white like a bride, and with cheeks nearly as white as her dress. She advanced leaning on her brother's arm. Monsieur de Suffren, leading his nephew, came to meet her, and then drew back to allow her to approach the king. "Mademoiselle," said Louis, taking her hand, "I begged of you to hasten this marriage instead of waiting until the time of your mourning had expired, that I might have the pleasure of assisting at the ceremony. For tomorrow I and the queen commence a tour through France." And he led Andrea up to the queen, who could hardly stand, and did not raise her eyes. The king then, putting Andrea's hand into Philippe's, said, "Gentlemen, to the chapel." And they began to move. The queen kneeled on her prie-dieu, her face buried in her hands, praying for strength. Charny, though pale as death, feeling that all eyes were upon him, appeared calm and strong. Andrea remained immovable as a statue. She did not pray. She had nothing to ask, to hope for, or to fear. The ceremony over, the king kissed Andrea on the forehead, saying, "Madame la Comtesse, go to the queen. She wishes to give you a wedding present." "Oh," murmured Andrea to Philippe, "it is too much. I can bear no more. I cannot do that." "Courage, sister. One effort more." "I cannot, Philippe. If she speaks to me, I shall die." "Then you will be happier than I, for I cannot die." Andrea said no more, but went to the queen. She found her in her chair with closed eyes and clasped hands, seeming more dead than alive, except for the shudders which shook from her from time to time. Andrea waited tremblingly to hear her speak, but after a minute she rose slowly and took from the table a paper, which she put into Andrea's hands. Andrea opened it and read, "Andrea, you have saved me. My honor comes from you. My life belongs to you. In the name of this honor which has cost you so dear, I swear to you that you may call me sister without blushing. This paper is the pledge of my gratitude, the dowry which I give you. Your heart is noble and will thank me for this gift. Marie Antoinette de Lorraine d'Autriche." Andrea looked at the queen and saw tears falling from her eyes. She seemed expecting an answer, but Andrea, putting the letter in the fire, turned and left the room. Then Charny, who was waiting for her, took her hand, and they each, pale and silent, left the room. 2 travelling carriages were in the courtyard. Andrea got into one, and then said, "Sir, I believe you go to Picardy." "Yes, madame." "And I to where my mother lies dead. Adieu, monsieur." Charny bowed, but did not reply, and Andrea drove off. Charny himself, after giving his hand to Philippe, got into the other and also drove off. Then Philippe cried in a tone of anguish, "My task is done," and he too vanished. End of chapter 92, recording by John Van Stan, Savannah, Georgia. End of the Marie Antoinette Romances, Volume 3, The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, translated by Henry L. Williams. Thanks for listening.